With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories.
The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court achieves a significant case backlog reduction.
Islander Water Sports and Carib Tickets announce strategic partnership to enhance travel experience. St. Kitts and Nevis tourist bus incident. Visitor injured after assault. St. Lucia opposition leader highlights 2024 challenges. Building resilience in Grenadian communities demands a shift in mindset, says Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. Internationally, global warming officially breached 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold in 2024. Now, the details.
Acting Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, His Lordship Mario Mitchell, announced that the court has successfully reduced its case backlog. Speaking at the ceremonial opening of the new law year on Friday, January 10, 2025 in Castries, St. Lucia, Chief Justice Mitchell provided a detailed statistical report. The report, which presented data up to 2023, as 2024 figures were not yet available, highlighted significant progress.
In 2023, a total of 7,742 cases were filed in the high courts in the 9 member states and territories of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, whilst 8,083 cases were disposed of. This is a clearance rate of over 100%, meaning that the high courts as a collective are hearing more cases than are being filed, so that a dent is being made on the backlog of cases in the system. This is a promising indication that we have begun to reduce the case backlog. Indeed, this is the 3rd consecutive year of an over 100% clearance rate, with an upward movement from 68.13% in 2021 to 104.4% in 2023.
He noted this marks the 3rd consecutive year of clearance rates surpassing 100%, a significant improvement from 68.13% in 2021 to 104.4% in 2023. However, he acknowledged disparities among member states, with clearance rates ranging from an impressive 256.4% in Antigua and Barbuda to a concerning 34.62% in Dominica.
The upward trend in the overall clearance rates may be credited to the impact of the implementation of the first 2 phases of the electronic litigation portal across all of the member states and territories. But robust measures are required to bring up to speed the states and territories with clearance rates of below 100%, particularly those with clearance rates as low as 34.62%. A total of 454 matters were filed in the Court of Appeal in 2023.
In 2023, the Court of Appeal also demonstrated strong performance, with 454 matters filed. It handled 324 cases in full court sittings and 499 cases in chamber hearings, delivering 97 written judgments and 473 oral judgments. These too reflected a clearance rate of over 100%. Chief Justice Mitchell lauded the efficiency of the courts, emphasizing the heavy workload of the appellate bench.
It is also evident that there is a very heavy caseload dealt with by the Court of Appeal, which is very significant given the relatively small size of the appellate bench. So both the High Court and the Court of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court have been performing very well in terms of the clearance rates for matters filed in the courts and the rate of delivery of judgments in matters heard by the courts. And this level of performance, I might add, compares very favorably with courts within and without the Caribbean region.
Despite these improvements, Chief Justice Mitchell acknowledged room for further enhancement in certain areas.
It may well be said that we are streets ahead of our neighbors. But this is not to be taken to mean that there are no problems with delays in the delivery of judgments by some of our judges, or that there is not sometimes a lack of expedition by some judges in the conduct of proceedings. So there are delays sometimes on the front end or back end of court proceedings. But for us, it is a work in progress. And progress there has been in our work as a regional court.
The ceremonial opening also included activities such as a church service and a formal procession to the court in each member state. Attendees included members of the judiciary, government officials, and armed forces.
In a significant development for travelers, Island Water Sports, recognized as the foremost provider of water, taxi, and water sports services in St. Kitts and Nevis, has joined forces with CaribeTickets.com, a renowned technology solution company. The strategic partnership aims to revolutionize the travel industry in the islands by introducing e-ticketing and paperless billing. It is designed to benefit both business travelers and the general public. The collaboration provides numerous advantages for travelers, enabling them to purchase Islander tickets swiftly via CaribeTickets.com or the Caribe Tickets app. This digital platform facilitates payments for baggage, boxes, taxis, and private charters, and supports the sale of multi-use tickets. Frequent travelers can now enjoy a seamless experience using e-tickets for round trips or repeated journeys between the islands, thus saving time and effort. This partnership represents a streamlined travel solution for business entities. Companies can now quickly issue e-tickets directly to their employees, greatly enhancing logistical coordination and travel planning. Additionally, implementing paperless billing will significantly reduce overall operational overhead for Islander water sports and corporate clients. This innovative approach allows businesses to allocate resources more efficiently while improving the employee experience. The advantages extend beyond individual travelers and businesses. Hotel operators and those arranging group travel will find the new system exceptionally beneficial. With the capacity to pre-book and distribute e-tickets to each group member, the complexities often associated with group travel between the islands have been drastically minimized. By streamlining these processes, the hotel operators can enhance guest satisfaction and ensure a hassle-free travel experience, solidifying their role in the thriving tourism sector. The e-ticketing experience is characterized by a robust technological framework that allows tickets to be delivered instantly via WhatsApp or email. This modernization ensures that travelers can make purchases online without needing cash, enhancing safety and convenience in transactions. Vincent Perkins, owner and manager of Island Water Sports, expressed enthusiasm for the partnership. Quote, "We are thrilled to partner with Caribe Tickets to enhance the travel experience for both business, customers, and the general public," end quote. Dion Herbert, founder of Caribe Tickets, echoed this sentiment, highlighting their shared commitment to leveraging cutting-edge technology that transforms the travel landscape. As this partnership unfolds, travelers seeking more information about ticket bookings can visit Island Water Taxi Tickets or contact the respective companies for assistance. With this collaborative effort, Islander Water Sports and Caribe Tickets are set to redefine the travel experience between St. Kitts and Nevis, contributing positively to the Caribbean tourism industry. On the morning of January 9th, 2025, a disconcerting incident unfolded in St. Johnson's Village, where a tourist bus was allegedly targeted by an unknown individual. Reports indicate that the assailant threw an unknown object. Unconfirmed reports suggest it was a stone at the bus, resulting in injury to a tourist who was subsequently transported to the Joseph and France General Hospital for treatment. The attack occurred between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Police say the object struck a male tourist in the face. In an official statement, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force provided insight into the ongoing investigation. Quote, "We can confirm that there was an incident in which a visitor sustained an injury to the face. Initial inquiries suggest that the visitor was struck in the face by an unknown object allegedly thrown in his direction by a local mentally unstable male," the statement detailed. The suspected perpetrator is in custody. The police assured the public that the matter is being investigated thoroughly, and they are expected to issue further updates as information becomes available.
As the Federation's Citizenship by Investment program faces increasing international scrutiny, many are questioning whether it's time to focus on leveraging existing economic citizens to drive the country's development. This perspective is gaining traction among both politicians and the public. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Roux shares this view, which he discussed in a recent edition of the Round Table.
Following through on the comments made with regards to CBI, in relation to the fact that last year significant changes were made that affected the income flows. And now we are talking about limiting perhaps the number of economic citizens of the country. However, in doing that, can we then say that we need to transition now, not so much about getting new persons coming into the program, but attempting to see who among those already economic citizens can possibly become investors in our country? Would that be one of the focuses starting from this year going forward?
As a matter of fact, that's an excellent question. That has started before. You know, we had the Gateway Summit, the inaugural Gateway Summit last year. That summit targets our citizens by investment and asks them to come into the country and look at investment opportunities. And I can say the date for next year has already been determined. So it will also be next year in May. And so that again, we are targeting our citizens to come to St. Kitts and Nevis to see what we have to offer so they can make other investments in the country. So we are doing that as well, seeking to do that. So we know that we have some citizens by investment who are very wealthy people, who are investors. And so we are reaching out to encourage them to invest again in St. Kitts and Nevis after the first investment, which can be a lucrative investment.
The Federation has seen declining revenues from the CBI program after several changes were implemented to maintain compliance with international standards, including visa waiver agreements with other countries. Despite these adjustments, the country remains heavily reliant on the CBI for government revenue and funding for many social programs. This growing dependency has sparked concerns about the long-term sustainability of the program to maintain economic activity. Leader of the opposition, Mark Brantley, has been an advocate for rethinking the country's approach. In a recent interview with WINN, he highlighted the saturation of the market with economic citizens, many of whom are not contributing significantly to the nation's development.
So we have this core, but we have ignored them in large measure. And I keep begging and saying, listen, this iteration, this framework that we have currently for CBI, in my humble opinion, if it's not yet dead, it is on life support. What we now need to talk about is our existing citizens, those who are citizens from the Citizenship by Investment Program, but also our citizens in the diaspora who have come from descent and all of that. We need to focus in a laser-like way on who we have already and say, how can you contribute? How can we leverage your education, your money, your acumen, that vast reservoir of intellectual capacity that we have out there? How can that be brought to bear? And that, I think, will be a huge step forward in terms of the diversification of our local economy.
Brantley, while speaking on a recent edition of Inside the News, called for greater diversification of the economy, emphasizing the need to focus on sectors like renewable energy, infrastructure development, and agriculture as critical areas for growth.
We have not done nearly enough, and we need now to scale up and to speed up what we're doing to get us to a point where if tomorrow the EU or America or somebody were to put out again some advisory or whatever in relation to our CBI, we can say, well, CBI may not be performing as well. But listen, we have energy, we have agriculture, we have our citizens in the diaspora, including our CBI citizens, contributing in a significant way. We are moving forward. I won't even bother to get into cannabis because even though I don't use cannabis, I recognize the tremendous economic value we can get from it. And we've been talking about cannabis now for a decade in this country. Not a thing has happened.
Brantley stressed the importance of shifting focus towards sustainability, homegrown solutions to foster long-term development.
At the vast sums of money that have poured into St. Kitts and Nevis through the Citizenship by Investment Program, we have never had clear numbers. Because no government, including the one that I was a part of, ever gave a clear breakout of what the numbers are. But from our extrapolation and investigation on the island of Nevis, we put that at in excess of 5.5 billion EC dollars. And that's with a B, billion EC dollars in the last decade or so. 5.5 billion EC dollars. And I say within the last decade, let me correct that because those numbers were assessed somewhere in 2022. Since then, we have earned probably nearly another billion or so EC dollars. So you ask the question, what have we done with those resources? Yes, we've paid down the debt, and that is good. Yes, we've paid some double salaries, and people jump up and say, hip hip hooray, they got more money. But where have you seen the investment in sustainability?
In regional news, St. Lucia opposition leader highlights 2024 challenges. DBS St. Lucia has that story.
Highlights of 2024 in the opposition leader's speech include Julian Alfred making history with 2 Olympic medals, inspiring a new generation of athletes. Naomi London, another rising star, is already making waves in track and field. Additionally, Kaim Elise earned the FIDE Master title in chess, while Darren Sammy continues to lead West Indies cricket. The St. Lucia Kings also made history, winning the CPL trophy for the first time.
All these achievements are more than moments of pride. They're reminders of what we can achieve. But in these moments, we must also ask ourselves a question. How did they succeed? And what kind of investments will be necessary for the next generation to succeed? The United Workers' Party had already begun to answer that question by supporting some of those same athletes in various ways, not the least of which was building a world-class sporting facilities in each community.
However, the speech also reflects on the hardships many face, including families struggling to make ends meet, pointing to the failures of the current government in fulfilling promises made during the last election. Issues like the halted construction of St. Jude's Hospital, delayed infrastructure projects, and rising costs, particularly in gas prices, are highlighted as indicators of mismanagement. The health sector is also under fire with complaints about overcrowded hospitals, lack of resources, and the failure to manage critical services effectively.
Once again, our citizens are left to bear the brunt of their mismanagement. Frankly, what is going on is nothing short of insanity. In opposition, they complained when gas prices were $13.95 a gallon. But now, on their watch, we face the highest gas prices in the OECS at $16.50 a gallon. And they're doing nothing to provide relief for us, our bus drivers and taxi drivers. They argued against reducing the VAT to 12.5%. A UWP decision that directly led to growth of our economy and relief to our businesses and consumers.
Furthermore, concerns were raised about corruption and mismanagement, particularly within the Citizenship by Investment program and the ongoing crime crisis affecting the nation. Shasney calls for accountability, urging the government to prioritize the health and well-being of its citizens and to address the mounting issues of crime and economic instability.
How much more can we be expected to endure? It would appear that despite the indisputable evidence, corruption has now become an accepted norm, and worse yet, is justified by too many of us. Questionable contracts are being issued, and millions of our dollars are handed out freely to friends and comrades. At the same time, ordinary solutions are left with the crumbs and to bear the burden of projects that never materialize. Our Citizenship by Investment program, once a beacon of opportunity, has now become St. Lucia's largest scandal in our history, thus robbing us all and the country of billions of dollars, funds that could have helped relieve all of us from higher taxes, inhumane health services, poorly equipped schools, insufficient public facilities, and an ineffective police force.
The speech concludes with a call for change, urging St. Lucians to hold their leaders accountable for the future of the country. For the DBS News World, Zane Bromulus reported.
Building resilience in Grenadian communities demands a shift in mindset, says Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. Grenada Broadcasting Network reports.
Addressing issues about sustainability and community well-being, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell emphasized the urgent need for behavioral changes to create a more resilient Grenada. He underscored the importance of adapting to evolving challenges while fostering sustainable habits.
We have to care about the long-term sustainability of the actions that we engage in. So if you think it's okay to just throw garbage onto the streets, because we pay the solid waste to clean it up, well, it's just a matter of time when one day solid waste may not be able to pick it up. It may go bankrupt. The cost of collecting the garbage may overwhelm its operations and it gets stuck in a drain. And then a flood is going to come and it's the same garbage that is going to come down in your house or someone else's house. So we have to recognize that it's cause and effect and there has to be limits to me. But I'm saying those behaviors can be unlearned. Right, and then I think for each of us, we also owe it to the next generation.
The Prime Minister also called for a renewed sense of compassion among Grenadians, stressing that resilience goes beyond environmental and economic factors. It also includes strengthening the bonds of humanity and mutual support.
When we talk about the mindset about what happens to building resilience into our communities, let's take an obvious example. If we pursue material things at all costs, then we will say it's fine, you can dump the mangrove and go build in the mangrove. But you can't control the rain, and you can't control the weather. And eventually the river will come down, your building will get flooded out, your building will get destroyed. But if we are thinking about resilience, we ought to be sensible and strong enough to say, hold on, it can't be development at all costs. It can't be a building at all costs. This is not a place for building because it simply is not sustainable.
Sustainable practices, he said, are not optional, but essential in ensuring Grenada's ability to cope with future challenges. From climate change to health crisis, building resilience requires collective action and accountability. As Grenada continues to address environmental and societal challenges, the call to action is clear. Fostering resilience begins with each individual, and every small step taken today can lead to a stronger, more united tomorrow. Christina John, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
The world has just experienced the first full year in which global temperatures exceeded 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial times, scientists said on Friday. 2024 saw temperatures rise on every continent, resulting in heat waves, drought, and extreme weather. The milestone was confirmed on Friday by scientists at the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service. They're warning that climate change is pushing the planet's temperatures to levels never experienced by modern humans. Here's Carlo Buontempo, director of the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service.
Every single month, January to July, has been the warmest on record. July was the second warmest, and then from then on has been the second or close to first around. But when you put all of those together, then the trajectory is just incredible and sums up to the warmest year on record.
The planet's average temperature in 2024 was 1.6 degrees Celsius higher than in 1850 to 1900. That's the pre-industrial period before humans began burning CO2-emitting fossil fuels on a large scale. What's more, 2024 was the hottest year since records began, and each of the past 10 years was among the 10 warmest on record. Governments promised under the 2015 Paris Agreement to try and prevent average temperatures exceeding the symbolic threshold of 1.5 degrees to avoid more severe and costly climate disasters. Yet, despite this, the first year above 1.5 degrees does not breach that target, which measures the longer-term average temperature. According to Buontempo, it's not too late for countries to rapidly cut emissions and avoid global warming rising faster, although they need to act fast.
The Paris Agreement will be reached in the near future. We can discuss whether it will be the late 2020s, early 2030s, but we are bound to reach 1.5 in the terms of the Paris Agreement and exceed it. It's not a done deal. We have the power to change the trajectory from now on. We can do it, but we need to do it based our actions on facts, on evidence, and there are plenty of evidence available that we can base our actions on.
The impacts of climate change are now visible on every continent, affecting people from the richest to the poorest countries on Earth. It is worsening storms and torrential rainfall because a hotter atmosphere can hold more water, leading to intense downpours. But as the costs of these disasters spiral, political will to invest in curbing emissions has waned in some countries. US President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office on the 20th of January, has called climate change a hoax, despite global scientific consensus that it is human-caused and will have severe consequences if not addressed.
More airstrikes around the Yemeni capital Sana'a. The Houthis have placed the blame on the US and the UK. Israel is reported to have participated in what's believed to be the first coordinated strikes on Yemen. The Israeli army says it hit the ports in Ras Isa and Hudaydah, as well as a power station in Sana'a. The attacks were carried out on Friday, when hundreds of thousands of Yemenis typically gather after Friday prayers to condemn Israel's war on Gaza. The spokesperson for the Houthi military was at the protest and told the crowds the group had attacked sites in Israel the day before.
The Yemeni armed forces carried out a targeting operation against a number of targets belonging to the Israeli enemy in the occupied areas of Haifa with 3 drones, and they were able to reach their targets successfully.
Yemen's Houthis have launched several attacks on Israel, saying the strikes are a show of solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has warned the Houthis it will continue attacking Yemen if they don't stop.
The Israeli strikes today in Yemen send a clear and sharp message to the leader of the Houthi terror organization. There will be no immunity for anyone.
The Houthis began targeting what it said were Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea soon after Israel began its war on Gaza in October 2023.
They have one sole demand, that Israel will stop its attack and genocide and lift the blockade in Gaza. The United Nations UN Secretary General has requested that, Amnesty International, the UNRWA, as well Human Rights Watch group, they have requested Israel to stop their attack.
The Israeli military says it will continue attacking Yemen until the Houthis end their strikes. But with no ceasefire in Gaza, few, if any, expect that to happen. Mohammed Haji, Al Jazeera.
TikTok's fate will be in the hands of the United States Supreme Court on Friday. That as the short video app faces a looming ban in the country. The case puts free speech rights against national security concerns over the popular app owned by China's ByteDance. TikTok and ByteDance, as well as some users who post content on the app, have challenged a law that would compel its sale by January 19th or ban it in the US. The law was passed by Congress with strong bipartisan support last year. It was signed by outgoing Democratic President Joe Biden, whose administration is defending it in the case. A lower court rejected the argument made by the law's challengers that it violates the US Constitution's First Amendment protection against government abridgment of free speech. The Supreme Court's consideration of the case comes at a time of rising trade tensions between the world's 2 biggest economies. President-elect Donald Trump opposes the ban. The Supreme Court is due to weigh concerns about free speech rights and the national security implications of a foreign-owned app which collects data on American users. The Justice Department has said TikTok poses a grave threat to US national security. It sees a risk that China could use its immense trove of data on Americans for espionage or blackmail. TikTok has a domestic user base of 170 million in the US, about half the population. The platform's powerful algorithm feeds individual users short videos tailored to their liking. TikTok argues the ban would hit its user base, advertisers, content creators, and employee talent. The challengers are supported by several free speech and libertarian advocacy groups. While Trump has vowed to, quote, save the platform, many of his Republican allies support the ban.
Let's return to the US because thousands of firefighters are still trying to control 5 blazes that have devastated Los Angeles, burning down swathes of the city and reducing some of the world's most expensive and sought-after properties to ashes. There has been some progress in containing some of the wildfires, but firefighters say changes in wind strength and direction could make things more difficult over the course of the day. More than 150,000 people have been ordered to leave their homes. A further 160,000 have been warned to be ready to evacuate quickly. The LA County Sheriff has told the BBC the city's suburbs looked as if they'd been hit by an atomic bomb. Many neighbourhoods have been left unrecognisable. Well, the destruction is expected to cost up to $150 billion, and the National Guard has also been deployed. A nighttime curfew has been imposed in the areas impacted by the Pacific Palisades fire and the Eaton's fire. And police are warning that anyone involved in despicable looting will be arrested. 5 fires continue to burn. Only one of them, Lydia, is anywhere near contained. Officials in the news conference talking about how one of the Super Scooper planes had been hit by a drone and that has been put out of action, a real blow because they only have 2 of those. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, has been giving a press briefing.
When we're on the front lines, when we're in the command posts, when we're in the Emergency Operations Center, we carry with us our friends and neighbors. That is what this fight is all about. It's about those friends, neighbors, and loved ones who have fled their homes, those who have lost their homes, those who have lost their lives. To all Angelinos, we are fighting hard for each of you.
Captain Adam Van Gerpen from the LA Fire Department is one of the many actually on the front lines. He spoke to me a little earlier and described what his crews are facing with the Palisades area fire.
So the latest, right now we're out at Pacific Palisades Fire, and we have approximately 20,000 acres that have burned so far. So we have 2,300 firefighters who are on scene, still battling this fire. So we have some of the most erratic wind conditions that I've ever seen in my 25 years. The fire changed direction numerous times, and our firefighters were having an active firefight all through the night. So we are still having some wind. We're in what we call red flag wind conditions going through until tomorrow night. So we still have all crews on deck standing by.
Your teams are working around the clock, and that's been the case for day after day. Just give me a sense of what that is like.
Well, our firefighters have been getting very little to no sleep, especially the first 2-3 nights. So the first few nights, it was nonstop structure fires as far as the eye can see. We were up and down our Pacific Coast Highway, all throughout the hills. And, our firefighters, this is what we train for. But what, we haven't seen is these erratic winds. The way that it's spread through this entire community. So, our firefighters are tired, but this is also what we train to do. And so we are going to be remaining on scene until we get 100% containment of this fire.
As you're talking, we're seeing pictures of some of the biggest fires that are still burning. Just tell me, you've talked about the wind, but give me more a sense of what the fundamental difficulties, because the size, the area this is covering, and also the speed, presumably all of that is making it so difficult to actually bring it under control.
Yeah, so on the first couple days of this fire, the rate at which the wind was blowing, people had only minutes to evacuate. So we knew this was a wind event was coming. We alerted the people in the community. We had pre-deployed our fire resources standing by for this, but nothing could have prepared us for how fast and how erratic this fire spread. So we're fighting fire from one direction. We're spraying water, and it's going 90 degrees to the side. And then as soon as we're putting that fire out, there's an ember cast. We had ember casts that were spreading this fire throughout the entire community. So you're fighting a fire, you knock one down, and then the embers start another one on fire. So also we have evacuation issues. So everybody's trying to evacuate at one time. We had some choke points in there. People actually had to get out of their vehicles and were running for safety. Now these vehicles at the abandoned creates a gridlock. So that has to be removed. So we had a lot of issues with this fire, but this is something that we have not seen to this level or this extent.
You talk about the embers. Let me explain to our viewers, because I've heard descriptions of this. They're almost like small fireballs that the wind is picking up and then moving them maybe 1 mile or 2 miles ahead of the main fire line. And that means you then have a potential new fire to deal with. So all the time there are new problems being thrown up. There's also the problem of a lack of water coming out of hydrants. Explain why there's a water problem as well.
Well, whenever you have a large fire, you only have so much water inside all the water main pipes. So if you're fighting fire in an entire community from all different angles and everyone is spread out, you sometimes have some water issues. So as firefighters, we're trained how to deal with that. We have water tankers that are out there that we're supplying our firefighters. We also have what we call relay shuttle operations, where we take water from one fire engine and bring it to another. But this event was so fast moving that we really had to be ready for anything.
In terms of a couple of the big blazes, the Eaton fire, the Palisades fire, what level of containment are you at the moment?
So right now we're about 6% containment with the Palisades fire, which is where I'm at. So the Eaton fire, I can't speak on the containment numbers for there, but the fact that we have multiple fires in the Southern California area, even as we're fighting the Palisades in Los Angeles City, we have other fires breaking out within the city. So we still have to manage those within different fires. So while we're fighting fire last night, we had one broke out in the Los Angeles Valley, and we had to deploy air assets and drop fire retardant on that. And that one went quickly from 50,000 to 80,000 acres, and we had to put a quick stop to that. So we're fighting on many fronts out here.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court achieves significant case backlog reduction.
Islander Water Sports and Carib Tickets announce strategic partnership to enhance travel experience. St. Kitts and Nevis tourist bus incident. Visitor injured after assault. St. Lucia opposition leader highlights 2024 challenges. Building resilience in Grenadian communities demands a shift in mindset, says Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. Internationally, global warming officially breached 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold in 2024. Thank you for listening.